Wales. Victoria's government to ban the sale of machetes after an attack at a shopping centre. The AEC will conduct a recount in Goldstein, but it will only be a partial one. Let's get to our Monday panel. Joining me, Assistant Minister, the Prime Minister Patrick Gorman, and former Liberal MP for Mackellar, Jason Falinski. Why don't we start with those recounts? Jason, I know you're keeping a close eye. We've got one that is happening in Bradfield for a full recount and a partial in Goldstein. Two Liberal versus so-called Teal contests. It seems that the AEC is partly doing it in Goldstein for, ensuring there's community confidence. Some of that vote was bouncing around in the third count of that, for example. You comfortable with everything that's happening here?
No, I'm not, Tom. I think this is just absolutely absurd. The AEC are breaking their own rules and for reasons that they will have to disclose, I think, at some point. The bouncing round to which you refer never actually saw Tim Wilson's margin go out, not down. I understand it's been reported today that Zoe Daniel has been assisted in this by Labor Party pollsters and other people, and even their own arguments fall short of this recount, partial or otherwise. I don't know why the AEC is doing this, and the truth is none of us do.
Well, they have released their reasons for it. I will say that those votes were bringing the margin out and then brought it back in, so it did bounce around. It was going out and back in, and by a significant amount, so that's incorrect. There's not a rule, by the way. It's a convention for under 100.
So Tom, that's been happening in every electorate around Australia. Does every electorate get a recount?
Hang on. Jason, you said they weren't coming in at all. There were corrections to the tally that brought the vote in. I'm bringing the facts here. You can have a crack at the AEC.
When the reallocation started, when the reallocation started, Tim Wilson was ahead by 160 votes. How much is he ahead by now at the end of that reallocation, Tom?
I'm not doing embarrasserial questions. It got out to 444. It came back to 260. My point is it bounced around.
Well, it went
up and it also came back. So there were corrections both ways. All right. Do you want a question back? Did the
went out,
were there corrections that also
and it's further out.
Were there corrections that also brought the vote closer, Jason?
What was the net impact of those corrections, Tom?
All right, we could do this all day. Obviously, the overall margin went up, but there were also corrections and tallies found that brought it closer, which you implied in your initial statement there weren't. All right.
Well, you don't want to do this all day, so.
Yes. Well, no, I'm just saying. Your first thing said the vote didn't come down at all. It did in some of the booths. Patrick, slice through here. Are there Labor people helping out Zoe Daniel, and is that appropriate?
I'm not aware of that. Simple as that, Tom. That's a straight answer to your question. We had a Labor candidate in that electorate. That person was not successful. This is now a contest that the Electoral Commission has to count all of the votes. I mean, what I think is very interesting is we've got Jason Falinski here, who's the President, the Secretary, the Treasurer and the immediate past President of the Tim Wilson fan club, having an absolute hissy fit about the Electoral Commission just doing their job. We should let the Electoral Commission do their job. And I know
that's not true. That's outrageous. That is outrageous. I'm sorry, I can't allow you to get away with that.
Tim Wilson himself says he's relaxed.
Well,
if Tim Wilson
maybe that's not outrageous.
I think Jason should take the same chill pill.
OK, look, you guys can say whatever you like, but the fact is that the margin has gone out. The AEC now has some sort of, it's bouncing around. His name is Simon Banks. He works for Pixis, which is the Labor Party's pollster, and this has been reported in the media. So I don't feel like I'm divulging insider information. So, I mean, clearly there are people employed by the Labor Party who are helping Zoe Daniel.
All right, well, be that as it may, as I said, the point around the recount, the final check where it was bouncing around, it was going up and down, Jason, was looking at distributed preferences, so not those who voted Wilson.
OK, Tom, let me ask you one last question. Did it go up or did it go down? Let me ask you this question. In the end, did it go up or did it go down?
I already answered that, Jason. You didn't answer whether or not.
The answer is it went up.
Piles found incorrectly that brought the margin down after it had gone up. So I played your game. I said, yes, the net amount was lower. You didn't say it went back down from 444. You can't say that.
Sure.
No,
It went out to 440, came back to 260.
Okay.
It started at 160.
Great. It bounced around.
I mean, yes, the nature of account is that sometimes you go up, sometimes you go down.
Pat,
speaking of things
prices,
that only go up.
Jason and I will sort of sort out everything else off air, and we'll see. One of us will be back next week, probably not me at this rate. Patrick, electricity prices. Talk about bouncing around. These just go up, don't they? There's no pledge from Labor this election. You just lost all your confidence on saying you'll bring them down?
Oh, we took policies to this election which will help households and businesses with energy prices. We'll continue the rollout of renewable energy, which we know over time is the cheapest form of energy. We took an additional $150 energy bill rebate to this election, opposed by the Liberal Party, opposed by the National Party.
But they're not real price cuts.
And we took a policy at this election.
That's using taxpayer money to take off prices from taxpayer bills.
Well, we took a policy which has been successful at both our fight against inflation and our fight to support household budgets. We've done that on a number of occasions, and we took a policy to do that to this election, which we'll start to implement. Similarly, one of the other things we'll be implementing is our commitment around making it more affordable for households to get household batteries. That's something that we know will help with the security of our energy grids, help individual households with their energy costs, and help small businesses as well. All part of that broad range of programs to make sure that we have energy grids and the energy generation we need for the future. And I'll just say to all of your viewers, Tom, shop around. What we know is for those who are on the national energy market, you can shop around for a better deal. The default offer is just there as sort of a safety net, but you can shop around for a better deal. You can't do that in the West. We've only got one provider. But in the East Coast, you can shop around.
Okay. Jason, where do you, just on nuclear, so the solution to what's happening between the two coalition partners around this moratorium on nuclear, lifting that I should say, what about from there? I mean, do you feel as though the party needs to take a major policy of differentiation to the election? Because it's going to take something, isn't it? Or are you just going to sort of avoid the fight on electricity and energy?
So, Tom, is your suggestion that we should have a better policy than just shop around? Yeah, I think we should. You're quite right. We should have a differential policy to that. Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
Gee, look, I mean, the fact of the matter is Labor Party's policy on electricity has failed. It's been failing for quite some time. And, well, actually, as it turns out, we were going to shop around, as it turns out. But anyway, look, the fact is that under Labor, and you can... Pat can keep talking about nuclear until the cows come home or the sun goes down. But the fact of the matter is that electricity keeps going up. No matter how many subsidies they throw at it, Australians are paying more for their electricity than they ever had in a country that is endowed with more energy sources than virtually any other country on the face of the planet. It is a massive public policy failure. So yes, the Liberal Party should focus on structural reform in the energy market to improve cost of electricity.
But doesn't it? So does that mean, though, on the other side of things, because the coalition was sort of shaping up to oppose part of the renewable rollout without saying exactly what it would do, does it need to be a bit more concrete in what it's doing around that, for example?
Well, I don't think... Well, Tom, my personal view is I don't think we should oppose the renewable energy rollout at all. I mean, but
there are elements of it. They were saying, this is a bad idea here, or lack of community consultation here, without sort of being concrete.
Are you talking about offshore wind?
There was some offshore wind. There were other projects as well that were onshore, I think.
Like? Anyway, look, I think with offshore wind, yes, there are some communities that are opposed to offshore wind. We need to be cognizant of what they say. But ultimately, any renewable energy or major renewable energy project manager or investor will tell you offshore wind is very expensive and probably not the way to go forward in terms of reducing costs for electricity. So I don't know really what to say there. if you leave these things up to the market, you're probably going to end up with a different mix than we have at the moment, because we've obviously heavily favoured renewable energy, but that doesn't. But emissions continue to go up under this government, and that's an important factor as well.
Yeah. So. Projects-wise, when the coalition was going to have a cap at one stage on renewable energy investment, and I guess the point was, where do you cap it? Patrick, on this though, does Labor just go, well, we won the election, everyone must love these rollouts, or... Well, effectively you were, because it was going to be less renewable energy compared to Labor's plan. But anyway.
We'll continue doing what we've been doing.
That was because we were... Okay. All right.
Jason, you've had quite a bit of content. I don't know if you've got any policy insights you've given us.
You're true. Over to you.
Quite a fair go. Thank you. Tom, we'll continue doing what we're doing, which is making sure that we have the energy that Australians need now and a plan for the future. That means making sure that we support the rollout of more renewable energy, which is low cost, zero carbon, and it's the sort of energy that both Australians and businesses want. And so that's what we'll continue to do. We've got our support there for the transmission infrastructure. We've got our support there for people who want to be able to store their own energy through household and small business batteries. We've got the work that we've done over a number of years, consulting with communities, including for the offshore wind proposals in Bunbury, or offshore from Bunbury here in the west. We'll continue to do that. And what I think is a good thing for the country is that we aren't stopping everything that was happening for the choice of then going down the path of nuclear power sometime in the 2050s. I think that's a good thing, and I think most Australians agree that it's a good thing that we've not gone down that path.
I found the quote that came to mind, Jason. It was about David Littleproud saying, we don't need large-scale industrial wind farms, whether they be offshore or onshore, and he said, we'll see in our energy mix, and we never sort of saw the concrete, here's what's in, what's out. But anyway, we'll talk about it next week or later today. Jason, Patrick.
Was David expressing a personal opinion?
Oh, just a leader of the Nats, All right, Jason, Patrick, we'll patch things up. We'll talk next week. We'll see what we can do. Thank you. When we come back, Wyatt Priest has reprimanded the Energy Minister during a mass.